For the past 30 years, Jean Lloyd has been one of the leading figures in the world of transformation, communication, and empowering people to produce breakthrough results. She's led courses to over 300,000 people, and she's been a life coach to executives, CEOs, Hollywood producers, and celebrities. And yes, even the occasional gay guy who's melting down over a bad breakup. I'm speaking of myself, of course. To me, she's one of the greatest communication experts I've ever met. And that's why I call her my communications diva extraordinaire, although she prefers the term communication provocateur. And if you've read my book, Grindr Survivr, you've definitely seen elements of her coaching in there. And about a year after publishing it, I realized that me just writing books about how gay guys objectify each other on apps wasn't going to be enough. I had to think bigger and I had to find new ways to reach more people. So towards the end of 2018, Jean Lloyd and I worked together along with a few other people to create a weekend course for gay men to deal with communication and relationship issues. The event was powerful and impactful, and Jean was amazing as always. But I wanted to catch up with Jean after the course in order to hear her perspectives on what specific issues are confronting the gay male community. So here we go. So I'm here today with communications diva extraordinaire, or as she refers to herself as the communications provocateur, Jean Lloyd. Jean, thank you so much for being here with me today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. It's great to be here with you as well.
So for those of you who didn't quite make it to our Revolution Realness event, Jean Lloyd led a powerful communication course over the course of a Saturday and a Sunday. And we basically got a room full of gay guys together to talk about communication issues. And I invited Jean on to be with me here today to just kind of discuss what's her assessment. So jumping in with you, Jean, we did a weekend course. What was your assessment of the gay community, at least here in London?
As someone who lives and breathes and thinks about communication and language all the live long day, my language for the gay community is that they're lovely. It was very moving to watch people who don't know me be that open and be that vulnerable in a way that I found stimulating and surprising at the same time. It just really speaks to how powerful listening is, like knowing you got someone that can listen to you and get your world and appreciate your world and have compassion for your world has you be able to trust something. And so I think the relationship, me to them and them to me, was very special and was definitely a gift. So it was lovely.
You know, the original theme of the event was around communication skills, relationship building skills. Obviously, I've written a book about Grindr and how that makes things maybe a bit more harder to find relationships that last. But I noticed people got up there and they shared about their jobs. One person shared about his parents. It just once we had, so kind of, what was your experience of kind of leading? Because in theory, we're supposed to be talking about relationships, but people jumped all over.
Well, to me, everything's related. So it can occur like people are jumping all over, but really the truth is we have one life. And you're always in your life. I know it seems like you're in a course, but when you're in the course, you're in your life. When you're at the grocery store, you're in your life. When you're at home looking at TV, you're in your life. Everything you do throughout the day and even when you're sleeping, it's all in your life. So therefore, one can draw the conclusion that we got a relationship to everything.
Would you say people's relationships to their parents or to their job influences their ability to relate to each other on a friendship or romantic level?
Absolutely. It's all interrelated. Everything's interrelated. What you do in one place, you do it everywhere. So whatever you're doing with your parents, you're doing it with everybody else too.
Really?
what you're doing. Oh, yeah. I'm talking about in language.
Sure.
Whatever habits you have of speaking and listening, you're going to have them everywhere, not just one place.
Obviously, you're not a gay man, but you've obviously dated some men. Can you give us an example of that? Because obviously a lot of my listeners probably didn't get to attend the event. Can you give us an example of yourself, or either from a client or something that jumps out at you where something that was going on with your parents impacted a relationship, like a romantic one?
Well, I can say that my relationship with my father was a relationship of being an adoring daughter,
Mm.
and also a relationship based in authority, looking up to him, respecting him, and doing what I was told to do. And as long as that relationship was based in that, I was the same way with the men I loved.
Okay.
Being someone who would do what I was told to do because I wanted to work, being someone who looked up to him as a man because I wanted the relationship to work. But you see, I didn't really get, I would say, a fully blown adult relationship with a man until I upgraded my relationship to my father.
Oh,
To one
wow.
of, yeah, it's deep.
Say more
It's
about
like,
that. Upgrade how?
well, you want to move it from being a child or being dependent to one of autonomy, an adult speaking to an adult. I had to upgrade it like that. So you'll find a lot of relationships we have are stuck in a kind of infantile state because we haven't done the work to upgrade it after we get to a certain age. It's inappropriate to interact with my father now as a little girl or as an authority figure. Yes, it's someone I respect. Oh, yeah, as a father. And we're two adults now having conversations that adults have. That really makes your relationship, my relationship with men, be exquisite because I'm able to appreciate them as a fully blown adult. So, yeah, that's how it looks.
Do you see that either in the participants or with other gay men you interact? Because I could see that maybe a lot of gay guys act like, if not teenagers, then sometimes cranky toddlers. Sometimes, you know what I mean? I see a lot of immature behavior, and I do it myself. So, I mean, we're all struggling trying to on our own paths. I mean, did you see that out of the weekend? Do you think a lot of gay guys are relating to each other from an infantile or immature state?
When you look at what you're saying, I'd have to say that I see this with human beings across the board, worldwide. It doesn't matter what group or ethnicity or gender. However, to be responsible for what we're talking about in this conversation, I will tell you that what I did notice is that the deep concerns that the gay community has definitely showed up in that course. And definitely I could hear the impact that it was having. So I would say that there's lots of issues with regard to body image, where people are really concerned and worried about, do they look right? Will they be accepted? And then there's conversations about what kind of man you will or will not be with. And so there's a lot of body image things that go on that really do impact the ability to really be yourself, to enjoy being yourself, and therefore being open to relationships without bringing in any baggage about yourself. That definitely came up in the course. And I think the body image thing also spirals into the dating, the things that people deal with regard to dating.
Sure, or
The
dating
angst
apps.
that goes with that. And then, so that came up where people want to be accepted and they want to be able to date. I mean, it's a very important part of the culture. There's also this need to be in seeking validation. I noticed that when people are seeking validation, they get easily invalidated.
Wow. Okay. I can
Yeah.
see that.
So it's a all the things I'm saying, they're double-edged swords. See, so it really is, if you look at it, then there was stuff that came up about people being worried about they're too gay. Like there's just too much gayness or not enough gayness.
You mean in terms of quote unquote acting feminine or?
Yes. Yes. acting too feminine. It came up with things like, I'm wearing mascara, or I'm wearing black nail polish, or just things that could be construed as too feminine, or things that can be construed as being too masculine. I mean, there's just lots of concerns around body image and how I look and how I'm perceived in the world. A lot of it.
And for, again, listeners who didn't have the chance to experience the weekend, and I know this is something we got to break down over 2 full days, but if to the extent, can you give our listeners a little bit of a taste of how do they free themselves up around, let's just take one issue, let's take around whether or not someone feels they're too feminine or too camp or too, and they're feeling like people don't respond to them, people tell them that. People get their feelings hurt when people say, oh, you're too feminine for me. People will write that on their profiles. I don't want anyone that's feminine. What would you say to those people who are listening who are struggling with that right now?
Well, one of the things we worked on in the course was to not take things personal.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like if someone said to me, and I think I shared this during the course, if someone said to me, I think you're too dark skinned. I like light skinned African Americans. I would just say, thank you for telling me that and good luck. I mean, I'm not going to make them wrong.
Really?
I'm actually happy that he told me that up front.
You wouldn't there's not part of you that wants to slap him in the face?
No, because I respect that. It's the issues people are dealing with are things that are hidden.
Okay.
Things they hide. Things that they think are unacceptable to say. Things that they believe is nobody's business. It's private. All of that cuts off communication. All of it. That someone can freely say that to me, I'm empowered because I'm like, wow, that means that person can be themselves with me. And I can be all right about their choice. It's their choice. They get to pick who they want to be with. It's not everybody's wants everybody else. Everybody has preferences. And I don't relate to that as someone is discriminating against me. I think they've chosen what they want to be with. And I have deep respect for that, deep regard for that communication. It wasn't said from a space to hurt me. It wasn't said from a space to disempower me or to be vicious. It was just open and honest.
How do you know it wasn't said from a place to hurt you? How do you know that? Or what if it was said from a place to hurt you?
I don't relate to communication as personal. Communing, the base of the word communication is commune. So we're communing, which means any and everything can be said and any and everything can be gotten. Now, if someone does deliver communication to me that I take issue at, I'll say that too. But we're still communing.
So you would tell the person that they were being rude?
I may not say they're being rude because that kind of shuts it down. I'll just ask them, what has you speak to me in that manner? Tell me what there is over there with you about me that you would need to speak to me in that way.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I can kind of see that even then it's not personal because they're dealing with something or they're reacting to something as opposed to really trying to connect with you.
That's right. And so I don't react to their reaction. I open it up so they can see it.
That's a very difficult thing. I mean, that's why you're a communication provocateur, or I would say diva extraordinaire, because it's one thing I can tell people off. I can give them a very frank assessment of my opinion of them.
Well, but remember in the course, the thing I really worked on was talking is not communication.
And real briefly, for, again, people who hadn't been able to attend, could you give us a 1-minute synopsis of the difference between talking versus communication?
Talking leaves you with no access to create anything with the person. It's very descriptive. It's about getting somewhere. It's about convincing somebody of something or manipulating them or trying to get somewhere. It has an agenda to it. Communication it's from the space of creation itself. You're just creating something by being with them. And there's no agenda. I'm not saying there's not a commitment. I'm not saying it's not an intention. I'm merely saying there's no agenda. There's no forcefulness. There's no need to dominate. There's only an interest in belonging in the conversation.
And kind of moving on from that, can I ask, what do you, obviously, you're not a gay man yourself, but you've been coaching me for years. You've coached other gay men for years. You've led courses to people, black, white, gay, straight, for decades. What do you think is missing in the gay community right now? Because it feels like, to me, people have so much choice, although a lot of it is base instinct choice, aka easy sex, that it becomes hard to get people to relate to each other as anything other than sex objects. And I don't know, did you feel like that came up in the weekend, or what's your, I mean, just kind of from your decades of experience, what's your assessment of kind of gay men around that?
Well, I mean, if you spend a lot of time about your body image and you spend a lot of time trying to get validation, you've now reduced yourself to an object.
Wow.
So an object is a person who relates to themselves as an object. In other words, they kind of lost touch with their humanity. You're going to treat other people that way and you're going to get the same thing back. So to me, what I saw that was extremely revealing is people lacked access. They had no access.
Access to what? Or,
So let's look at it. Let's look at the whole realm of access. So usually when somebody thinks they're separate or they're alone or they're different, they cut themselves off from anyone else in their species. Now, there's where the lack of humanity is going to begin and end, right?
Okay.
Well, the communication is all about people giving themselves permission and liberty to be. They're going to give themselves the power to do what needs to be done. And so human beings have, oh my goodness, many, 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 many ways to build access to a world, to many worlds through communication. But if you're only working on trying to date, or you're only working on trying to fix your body, you don't have but one access. So you'll work on that, and you'll work on that, and you'll work on that ad infinitum, and you will never be happy. So what we saw in the course was I had conversations with them about, what is your life for? Oh my goodness. I mean, I could hear the brains just snapping like boop, 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 like popcorn, because it's like, whoa. When has anybody ever asked me that? When is the last time I even asked myself that? Right.
Right.
I mean, it's awesome to love what you love. No one's trying to change that. We're not trying to change that. But what is your life for? Oh my goodness. Some of the things I watched just blew my mind. Like, people that could hardly put a sentence together, all of a sudden are very eloquent. They're now so excited about what they want to build, what they're committed to building or on the pathway of building, that they forgot all about themselves and they just wanted to share. Now that is what I call access. And then when you start to communicate and you start to share what you're all about, you got people pulling for you, then you can see all these other accesses too. And you start creating again. And so it's really the liberty and the ability to just give yourself permission to create as many things as you want to create and walk through that door, that access to make that difference.
You often say kind of the key to having a happy life or sustainable happiness is kind of getting outside yourself.
Oh, yeah. You got to get your attention off yourself if you want to be happy.
Do you think that came up in the weekend? And I'm not saying straight people do it too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that gay, but this is a gay podcast for gay guys. So I'm trying to talk about what's confronting my community. Did that come up or what,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just the thing about it is, people hung around. They were still communicating. There was a lively exchange of information. It's interesting. People talked mostly about what kind of relationships they're committed to versus complaining about what they don't have. See, that's the difference. See, when you have access, you start to get clear about what you want and you don't want in your life. And you start to communicate what you actually want. So complaints are always about talking. There's no interest in fixing or resolving anything. It's really all about just being upset, all about being, disempowered or whatever phrase you put on there. But when you start looking from, wait a minute, but what do I really want? Then the lights come back on.
Just so for listeners who didn't get to attend the weekend, let's play in that realm just for like another minute or two. I'm kind of curious. So it's like, okay, so if I have a complaint about the gay community that gay men don't want to commit, there's too much easy access to sex, and so no one wants to be open to a real, profound, committed relationship, that's my complaint. What's your advice to me around that? Or you're saying I gotta do what?
You're complaining about that. That's all you're going to meet.
Now, what do you mean by meet?
You're actually causing it by saying that. So if I say all men are jerks, guess what I'm going to meet all the time?
Okay.
Jerks. Deadbeat dad. That's all you'll see, because you now have this filter called no gay man wants to commit. That's just absolutely untrue. That's just a label. That's talking that has you not be able to be intimate with anyone because you're clear they're not going to commit anyway. So let's just have sex.
First of all, that applies to me, but someone said something to me the other day, Gene, it rocked my world. I like guys who are funny and who can make me laugh, right? I like to be silly. He was a stand-up comedian, and I was like, oh, this is cool, right? Like a stand-up comedian. And I asked him, what are you looking for? And he said, well, I'm pretty much just looking for sex. And I said, oh, why is that? And he said, well, the apps made me this way. And I was like, part of me was thankful that he was upfront, because a lot of guys will say, oh, I'm open to a husband, and then they sleep with you one time, and then, But I tried to be like, well, wait a minute. Like, I'm telling you I'm open to a date, and you're basically telling me back you're only interested in fun.
But remember the conversation we had like 2 minutes ago? He has no other access but the app now.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the app. Once you get people to get it, that nobody's coming, it's that if they want to have a great life, it's on them. Then you start to open up new accesses. So there's no device out there that determines your life. There's no app out there that determines your life. As a matter of fact, there's no human being out there that determines your life. So the communication course was all about people getting 100% clear that it's their job to have a great life. Now let's look and see what's getting in the way. And we took those 2 days to get out of the way what's in the way of them getting completely clear about what they want.
Now, you said something really interesting because, in my book, I kind of say that sometimes my experiences are gay guys often fit into one of two categories. I call them shag zombies, which we kind of touched on that, which are people who are relating themselves as objects. But what's also there is what I call them sleeping beauties. And it's kind of like they are waiting for Mr. Perfect to arrive, and they won't wake up out of their sleep until they perceive perfection has arrived. And that resonated with me because it was like, wait, nobody's coming. Because it's like, okay, so I got to wake myself up. I can't be the sleeping beauty. I got to wake myself up. And then what? So if nobody's coming, then what?
It means you have to alter how you're listening. You're only going to get what you're listening for. Right? If you're listening for, people are going to take advantage of me, that's what you're going to get. But if you're listening for the opportunity that's available to you to be in a committed relationship, you'll find that too. So it really is, you got to shift your listening if you want to shift the world.
And how do you shift the listening especially for someone? I mean, you and I we've been in the kind of field of communication for a long time, but for the average gay guy who's sitting there, like, how do I at least begin to try to shift my perception of the gay community or shift my listening for a potential boyfriend? What's your advice there?
I don't think you can do it alone, quite frankly.
Oh, right.
Not because you're not capable of it, but you got to know what to listen for and how to think about things. So you have to do the work.
Okay.
If you want to be a communicator, you got to work at it. And a lot of what people are reacting to is stuff that's already happened. They're not here now. They're not present. They're busy trying to keep from getting hurt again. The obsession with things that's your escape. People using drugs and sex to escape,
Escape what?
not to be present and in love. You have to be present to be in love.
What are they trying to escape? Or just some of the things we talked about earlier?
Their fears, mostly fear of what's going to happen.
Years ago, you said something to me, and I wrote it down, and it's been with me for a really long time. You kind of said, if you're looking for love, you're going to get hurt. And it is not pleasant. It's not fun.
Well, I mean, you're going to get hurt just because you're human. I mean, that's a way to look at it. It's sort of like if I care at all, I'm going to get hurt. People make mistakes. They forget to do things they promise you that they'll do. People are human. But if it's real love, compassion is there.
Right.
Really. Compassion for what folks are dealing with. I'm not saying give in to something or agree with something. But that lack of compassion is because love's not real love. Real love does have that charity, if you will, in it. Like, okay, I don't like what happened, but I still love you. There's no take backs. There's just, we're related and we'll always be related. And then you get to say how you be related. But if you're connected to people, we're people, we're connected forever. There's no such thing as not connected. We're the same species, human. So it's just a matter of, you have to do a lot of work in this one because the world talks. It's everywhere. Very, very little communication. So you have to really work at it. And one way to work at it is to get interested in what you leave people with. That's one thing that would support that journey.
Wow.
So did that person, after we have that conversation, are we more connected or did I just break the bond?
I write in my book, I struggle with telling people off when I feel like they've hurt me or done something outrageous or rude.
Well, people can't hurt you.
What?
People can't really hurt you. It's more about what did you do with what they said. Then that's the part about communication that takes work. I'm not saying people don't say things or do things and I kind of go, wow, ouch. I'm not saying that doesn't happen to me. I'm just merely saying I am present enough to not do anything with that.
How do you not do anything with it? How do you not, or if someone says something that would occur to most people as hurtful, how do you not do anything with it?
Self-discipline.
Okay.
Because whatever comes out of your mouth, trust me. In communication, you pay attention to what comes out of your mouth because once it comes out, that damage can last for a really long time. And it's not worth it.
I'm kind of shuddering a little bit over here because I'm thinking if we got all of my ex-boyfriends in a room and asked them, what do they know about me? I'd be a little nervous. And that was part of what you're saying I should look at, right?
The looking at that will free you.
Wow.
Because you'll learn. You'll start going, I'm not doing that again. That wasn't worth it. I just wrecked another human being because I got my feelings hurt. Wasn't even worth it. It's like taking a knife out and stabbing somebody when you say things to harm people. It's not worth it. But you can train yourself to tell the truth about your experience and even be upset and angry, but don't break the affinity.
Okay.
You don't have to break the affinity, but you can be straight. You can say, please, under no circumstances do we do that in our relationship with each other. Please. You're not making them pay, is what I guess I'm saying. There's no retribution. There's just, these are the boundaries. And if you want to be with me, these are the boundaries.
Wow. Okay. That's heavy. I got to spend some time thinking about that. Because let's be honest,
this does take work. I'm not saying it's just overnight. It does take work.
My experience of gay guys is we can be quite catty. We can be catty. And I'm not saying straight people don't do it too, but I'm saying amongst each other, we can get catty and, scratch each other.
I'm familiar with that world. I mean, women can be very catty too,
Yes.
It really is. Reacting to things doesn't work.
Wow. Okay.
It's really, You got to give yourself so much access to creating, even with the worst things on the planet. You got to figure out how to get access with what's right in front of you. And you can only do that in communication. You can't do that with talking. Talking is going to be about getting even, fixing somebody, getting over on somebody. It's personal in talking, and communication is never personal. It's a sharing of a conversation together. It's not a holding people hostage with the communication.
Wow. Well, Jean, my communications diva extraordinaire, thank you so much for appearing on my podcast. Can I ask if someone wants to get in touch with you? I'll put links in the podcast website when that kind of goes. But if someone's trying to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Whatever you put, whatever you put in the podcast.
Okay, I'll put some links. Right. I'll put some links on your social media to your Instagram and Facebook.
You know more about that stuff than I do.
Yes, ma'am.
It's so funny. I'm still getting myself caught up to the 21st century when it comes to those kinds of things, and I'll be ready next time when you ask me.
That's okay. I'll put links. I'll put links. Well, Jean, you're awesome. Thank you so much for your commitment to the gay community. I'm hoping either we can do this again at London and sometime in 2019, or I hope you can take your kind of show on the road. I know some gay guys out in LA were hoping you could come out there.
Oh, yeah. I've had one of them contact me. So it looks like they're at work on doing some similar course right there in LA.
Thank you so much for your time today. Love you lots and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Same here.